So hypergrowth, right? Most people never experience this in their careers. Realistically, most people aren't part of a company that grows over 100% a year in a given year. What were some of the challenges over the last, call it 2 years for you in scaling that up, in handling that kind of growth?
Oh man, it's wild. It's wild. I think when we launched, we had 10 or so people, around 10. We launched and went full chain with Target, which is 1,800 doors in 2 months, which is just bananas for anyone who's done a startup. That is unreal. And brick and mortar has very unique challenges over digital because it's physical and real and it's a location, and it is just such a bigger chain of execution. And now we're at just under 30 people. We've onboarded 30% of our staff during COVID, have never met them. So it has been wild. And there is nothing more incredible and meaningful than being there on day one, being there with people that took that risk, that had that fear that you're feeling right now about your influencer app. I mean, there were months and months of us saying, gee, like, we like it. Let's see what other people think. And to have that be received and recognized by the community that we built it for, there's nothing that feels like that. And to be able to share that with other people is incredible. This is, certainly exceeding the growth that we projected. So there are absolutely challenges with not just keeping up on that, but continuing to grow in the right way. And that's always how we've approached things. It's not, how do we get to 20 million, 50 million? It's how do we build the business that has that meaning, that has that connection, that has that longevity? Because ultimately we believe that in 20 years from now, those are the businesses that are going to have stuck around and matter. Mm-hmm. And those are the harder things, building for longevity, building for purpose. I think one thing we absolutely believe in and do is invest in our team, invest in our people. I think they are yes, we have amazing data, but the single greatest thing that's contributed to our success is the people that have invested in the brand with us. And that's our team members. But also our community, really thinking about how do we continue to take them along for the ride. That first person that tested our formulas, that took a chance on us. So those are some things that we try to really invest in as we scale. Ultimately the needs of our company now, they look very different than they did a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. But it's all about building that foundation that you can grow on top of. And I think another really important piece of it is that feedback and that communication. I talked a little bit about trust and having trust on your team. Ultimately, I need everyone on my team being my eyes and ears, because I'm not going to think of everything. I'm not going to see anything until some things are ready to smack me in the face. So it's really important to create that environment of open feedback, mm-hmm. of, supporting that constructive thinking and criticism as it comes in. It means that, you're slower to make decisions. It's harder to work through those things as they come. It means that, not every idea gets to be the brilliant idea, because there's a lot more that goes into making it work. But ultimately that becomes your defense for those threats that pop up. And it's been a big part of our success in being able to continue to thrive as we grow. We have incredibly low turnover. I think we've only had, 2 or 3 people turnover in the 3 years that we've had team associated with the company. And I think also part of that is just really trying to think about the growth path for each of those individuals, mm-hmm. and how do you keep fueling what they're excited about and what they want to be a part of as we continue to grow.
Yeah, it's tough. I think when the company grows that quickly, you have to hire a lot of new roles, right? And of course, you always want to kind of promote from within, but sometimes that can be challenging, right? Where it's like, hey, we love how you're doing in this role, and there's a new role that's opening up, and yes, it's above you, but we just don't think you're right fit today, right? We want to help you grow into that person, but you're not there yet. That was definitely that was a challenge I had. I tended to lean towards the just promote from within and then deal with the headache, or with the growing pains. But I don't know that was always the right decision either. So it's tough.
Managing people is definitely the single hardest part of every job I've been in, and that's not because people are hard and bad, but it's because you invest in people, they invest in you, and you want to be that great place for them that they can thrive in. I'd say, some of my philosophy as a manager, I don't know if I'd say like I'm as far as radical candor, but I've been told I'm direct. Like the best time to give feedback is, kind of real time as you're seeing things. Of course, in a constructive way, like how do we learn from this? How can we set ourselves up differently? But don't wait until, it's the end of the year and the employee is expecting a promotion or whatever to say, hey, like actually, like I think we could have done better in this area, or here's an area of growth. So I think being as transparent as possible with expectations, with opportunities for growth, that ultimately lets people be more successful. And also, like, we created essentially our logic around professional growth, and we were transparent around that as well. We said, here's what we look for someone to be promoted. Here's how we set our salaries. Here's how we set our titles. One, so that it was equitable, because if everything's left up to the discretion of one manager or one leader, like that doesn't work out.
Mm-hmm,
we know that. We have data on this. So ultimately you want to take that bias out of it and kind of open up that logic so that people can see, this is how I succeed. This is what's important to me, whether it's going to a new field, whether it is being promoted, and they can all optimize for that path that they want, but they can also bring their manager into it and say, hey, like, I want to go in this direction. How can we work on that together at first?